America has won every military exchange with Iran since February 28th. Its airstrikes degraded Iran's nuclear facilities. Its navy boarded and seized an Iranian cargo ship at gunpoint in the Gulf of Oman. Its carrier strike groups control the maritime corridor, and its blockade remains in force. And on April 21, 2026, 1 hour before the ceasefire deadline expired, Donald Trump extended it indefinitely. The blockade continues. The strait stays closed. And 73% of Americans told pollsters this week that the economy is failing. Gas prices have not fallen since March 4th. Brent crude has held above $100 a barrel for 49 days. Trump's approval rating on the economy, the metric he built his entire political identity around, has collapsed to 30%. Iran has not won a single military engagement in this war. It does not need to, because Iran is not fighting the United States Navy. Iran is fighting the American gas pump, and the gas pump is winning. To understand how this happened, begin at the beginning. On February 28, 2026, the United States Air Force and the Israeli Air Force executed a coordinated strike package against Iranian nuclear, ballistic missile, and IRGCN infrastructure. Iran's nuclear enrichment capability at Fordow was neutralized. The Iraq heavy water reactor was rendered non-functional. Within 72 hours, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy activated its contingency architecture and formally declared the Strait of Hormuz closed to commercial tanker traffic on March 4th. The strait, 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, is the single passage through which an estimated 20 million barrels of oil and 19% of the world's liquefied natural gas move every day. When it closed, the International Energy Agency described it as the largest single chokepoint disruption in the history of the global energy market. Brent crude crossed $100 per barrel on March 12th, the first time since August 2022. On April 8th, a 15-day ceasefire entered force, brokered by Pakistan. The framework produced a draft memorandum. Washington would release $20 billion in frozen Iranian sovereign assets. Tehran would transfer its enriched uranium stockpiles to a third-party custodian. Neither side signed. Then, on April 19th, the U.S. Navy intercepted, fired upon, and seized an Iranian-flagged cargo vessel 60 nautical miles southeast of the strait entrance. Tehran suspended its delegation to the Pakistan talks. The ceasefire machinery stopped producing outcomes. On April 21st, Trump extended it anyway, citing Iran's government as seriously fractured and conditioning the extension on Tehran delivering a unified proposal. The Strait of Hormuz remained closed. Day 49. The cost architecture of this confrontation is the most asymmetric in any active theater. The IRGCN closure capability, fast attack craft concentrated at Bandar Abbas, submarine-deployed mines seeding the northern passage near Keshem Island, kamikaze surface drones operating from Larak Island, costs an estimated $180 million per year to sustain. 2 carrier strike groups, $12.8 billion annually, against $180 million. The world's most expensive offensive naval force, operating at a cost ratio of 71-1, has not reopened a 33-kilometer waterway in 49 days. That is not a failure of will. It is a structural condition of asymmetric maritime warfare. The energy bypass architecture activated on March 4th prevented immediate catastrophe, but cannot absorb the full shock. Saudi Aramco activated the 1,200-kilometer east-west pipeline at record throughput, 7 million barrels per day, redirected to the Red Sea port of Yanbu, the highest output in the pipeline's 45-year operational history. 7 million barrels is approximately 35% of normal strait throughput. The other 65%, 13 million barrels per day, has no alternative route. Every barrel priced above the pre-crisis baseline of $73 is a direct transfer payment from American consumers to the mathematics of the blockade. Picture this. You are the senior economic advisor to Donald Trump. It is the morning of April 22, 2026. The AP-NORC data in front of you is unambiguous. 73% of Americans say the economy is failing. Cost of living approval, 23%, with 76% disapproval. A gallon of regular unleaded, the number on a sign at every corner of every American town, has not moved in the right direction for 49 consecutive days. The strait is the gas pump. The gas pump is the approval rating. The approval rating is the political survival calculation, and the strait does not respond to carrier strike groups, to threats, or to ceasefire extensions. The Houthis formalized their operational alliance with Iran on March 28, simultaneously reopening the second chokepoint. Bab el-Mandeb, 30 kilometers wide between Yemen and Djibouti, came under renewed drone and anti-ship missile pressure. The port of Yanbu, now carrying redirected Saudi crude, sits 400 kilometers north of the Houthi primary launch zones. The bypass that prevented catastrophe became a target. 2 choke points under simultaneous pressure is not a coincidence. It is doctrine. Every additional front divides the opponent's available force structure and raises their cost. The domino chain runs as follows. The strait stays closed because Iran will not return to Pakistan talks while the blockade holds. The blockade holds because Washington demands a verifiable nuclear concession before releasing the $20 billion in frozen assets. Iran will not surrender its stockpiles without the asset release. The asset release cannot move while Iran refuses to negotiate. And at the center of this locked cycle sits the American consumer, filling a tank that costs more than it did on February 27th. Iran's strategists did not design this outcome by accident. The 1973 oil embargo proved the principle. Iran is applying the same logic with a 2026 toolkit. Trump's ceasefire extension, delivered via Truth Social at 11:43 p.m. Eastern on April 21st, contains a structural contradiction. The extension is indefinite, but the blockade continues. Iran's stated condition for returning to talks is the end of the blockade. The blockade holds until Washington gets a nuclear concession. Washington is holding all 3 lines simultaneously. Someone has to move first. Trump told CNBC on the morning of April 21st that he did not want to extend the ceasefire. He did it anyway, within 8 hours. That reversal on live television tells Tehran that domestic political pressure is real enough to override a presidential statement. If the ceasefire costs Washington this much political capital to maintain, refusing to attend talks costs Iran precisely nothing. Qatar has said nothing publicly, though Al Udeid Air Base sits on its soil and its strategic choices narrow every day the strait stays closed. Washington has 3 options: strike Iranian energy infrastructure, a threat issued twice and not executed, accept Iran's sequencing and end the blockade first, or wait for Tehran to fracture. Trump's April 21st extension was built on option 3. That argument has an expiration date. If the fracture does not produce a proposal, the extension produces nothing. The Strait of Hormuz is 33 kilometers wide. It has been closed for 49 days. 20 million barrels of oil are waiting on the other side, and the cost of waiting is no longer being paid in the Gulf of Oman. It is being paid at every gas station in the United States. What do you think? Does Trump's indefinite ceasefire extension mean Washington is quietly moving toward a deal on Tehran's terms? Or has Iran found the one asymmetric weapon no carrier group can neutralize? The American gas pump? Drop your answer in the comments. If you want more briefings like this, subscribe and hit the bell. We cover every major move before the mainstream catches up.